Good morning and welcome to this web conference by Geopost and Euromonitor. Thank you for tuning in wherever you are. I'm your host, Benjamin Dier, and we are coming to you live from Geopost's own studio right outside of Paris. Today, we're going to talk about sustainability. In these uncertain times, should companies perceive sustainable investments as a constraint or as an opportunity? Sustainability in times of uncertainty is the title of a white paper put together by Geopost and Euromonitor International. To discuss it, meet my guests. Welcome Jean Claude Sonet, your Executive Vice President for Marketing, Communication and Sustainability at Geopost. Hello, Jean Claude.
Good morning.
Karolina Grigorijevaitė, your Senior Innovation Consultant at Euromonitor International. Hello, Karolina.
Good morning.
And Inga, Klebanskaja, your sustainability expert at Euromonitor International. Hello, Inga.
Good morning.
So welcome to this live conference. Before getting started, let me tell you that you can ask your questions to our guest at any point in time during this live. All you have to do is send in your questions through the chat, and we'll take a moment with my guest here on set to answer your questions by the end of this program. We're all set. Let's get going. So we're here today to share the key insights of this white paper, Sustainability in Times of Uncertainty. First, how did you build up the research?
So for this white paper, Euromonitor has collaborated with Geopost to evaluate the impact of economic volatility on the resolve for businesses to incorporate sustainability practices. And then we work together to develop a roadmap to help in businesses doing so. And this research draws on custom B2B and B2C surveys, as well as expert interviews that have been collected between November and December in 2022 in 4 European markets. So in France, Poland, Germany, and the UK.
Great. Can you expand on the type of companies you've interviewed?
Absolutely. So we were trying to strike a balance among large, medium-sized, and small companies from a variety of industries and positions, including e-retailers, logistics companies, as well as experts and thought leaders on sustainability.
Great. So this white paper is a first for Geopost. Jean-Claude, what was your objective with this research?
Yes, indeed, it is a first, and actually we considered that a white paper is a good opportunity, is a good way to share insights and potentially open new perspective, especially on sustainability. Sustainability is a key pillar in our strategy. We've started the journey back in 2012. Where we decided to set clearly an objective of carbon neutrality, setting a plan to decarbonize our business. And we know how challenging is this journey. And considering the context, the current context, a post-pandemic world, inflation, energy cost, everything all together, we wanted to assess how companies and consumers rank sustainability into their priorities. And actually, when we started to talk about it with Euromonitor, we had a very good match on this topic, and we considered that it would make really sense to make this research on this topic.
So we're going to dive into this white paper. But first, Karolina, maybe can you share the key findings in a nutshell for us?
Absolutely. So as you said, the purpose of this web conference is to dive deeper into the insights and nuances of the white paper. But the two main things that came out of this research is first that despite the geopolitical and economic challenges, businesses still continue to invest in sustainability, so it's still a very important topic. And the second one is on the consumer side. So we've seen time and time again that consumers do pay attention to sustainability in their buying process. However, at the same time, they are currently considering other factors as well, such as affordability and immediate availability of products.
What did you learn about businesses positioning towards sustainability through this research?
So we've seen that recent exogenous shocks that we're facing, namely inflation and soaring energy prices, have actually pressure tested businesses' commitment to sustainability. However, we see that this has actually provided impetus for businesses to, for example, reconsider their energy strategy, move towards greener energy sources, and fuel the way to more greener energy security. And overall, we also see that businesses have reinforced their commitment to sustainability. So, for example, out of this research, we see that 70% of companies that we've interviewed have increased their sustainability budgets in 2022. And we also see that 77% of companies have actually expanded their sustainability initiatives. And when we look at the sustainability initiatives that they're committed to right now versus what they're planning to do in the future, we see that there's a consistency there. So Inga will speak about that later, but we see that companies are confident in the sustainability strategies that they are taking and are planning to stay the course.
Jean Claude, what's your reaction to these findings?
Actually, I was not that surprised. That's what we observe with our customers, with our partners. I think there is really a strong commitment into sustainability, even though companies have some different maturity on this topic. But clearly there is a commitment and there is a clear awareness of the challenges it represents to tackle this topic. So yes, not surprised, and I would even say that the topic on the cost savings because of the energy cost is interesting, because in every crisis there is an opportunity, and we can see that this is an opportunity indeed to move forward in terms of sustainability, but also to optimize your own cost model.
Karolina mentioned companies tending to accelerate on their sustainable investments. What about Geopost?
Actually, we're doing exactly the same. We are accelerating. As I told you, we've started in 2012 with our carbon reduction plan. And this year, we decided to accelerate. So we set a roadmap to net zero by 2040. And this roadmap has been validated by the SBT initiative recently in February. And it means for us that we will aim at reducing our carbon footprint by 43% by 2030 as a first step, and a second step by 90% in 2040. So it's quite a commitment, and that's why we're going to accelerate our investment to make it happen. Another example of acceleration, we have set a plan to decarbonize our deliveries in the 350 biggest cities in Europe. So the plan is work in progress, and we're accelerating again to get to this objective by 2025.
Great. Karolina, what's your analysis about these companies? Do they see sustainability more as a cost or as an investment today?
That's a very good question. So we've been trying to tackle that question throughout this whole period of research. And there are two main findings that came about from kind of the primary research that we did. And the first is that sustainability is becoming ever more integrated into the business operations. So it's not just a fair weather cost. We care about sustainability when the economy is on the upside, and we don't care about it when it's on the downside. And even kind of contrary to this, we see that businesses, in addition to serving on consumers' needs and also having a positive impact on the environment, see sustainability as a potential avenue for cost-saving strategies. So we'll expand on that, but we see that 44% of businesses claim that they see sustainability as an avenue for cost-saving through, for example, changing their energy sources towards greener ones or improving their energy efficiency altogether.
Okay, so operations are key. Jean Claude, how do you interconnect sustainability and operational excellence?
Actually, it's completely linked together. Sustainability is not just a green layer you put on top of your operations. It's completely embedded. And maybe the first step, which is absolutely necessary, is to set a measurement of your own carbon emissions. Because without knowing how much you emit, you cannot set your plan, your objective, and monitor your progress. So that's the very first step, and we did it back in 2012. And based on these elements, then you can set, review your processes and set the accurate plan to reduce your carbon footprint. So that's why it's completely embedded. And maybe just one example. It can be very easy. For instance, if you optimize your load factor in your truck, trying to load more parcel in one truck. What does it mean? It means less truck on the roads, so less cost, but also less carbon emissions. So that's why it's completely connected.
Thank you very much for sharing this example with us. Remember, you can ask your questions to my guests here on set at any moment using the chat, so feel free to jump in anytime. So on those solutions about sustainability and more broadly on the topic, we've talked a lot about greenwashing and the actions that were only a face or a cover. Does it still exist? Is it still real? Do you see that many companies still operate actions or strategies to cover an otherwise very polluting activity?
Yeah, so this is a very important question, actually. And I wish I could tell that it is on decline. But with increasing importance of sustainability, even in times of uncertainty, we do see that greenwashing is also increasing. And Euromonitor hasn't done any research on greenwashing, but we do know that other companies do. And unfortunately, statistics we see are not as optimistic as we would like them to see. So we do believe that legislation, regulative environment will positively affect that, and we already see a lot of actions being done from governmental bodies. So we do believe that this will be the key tool to combat the greenwashing in the future.
And also following from what Jean Claude has said, it is important for companies to set their internal strategies to ensure transparency, as well as transparency within and across the supply chain, and also help kind of build that trust with consumers so that they are confident in buying a more sustainable product or service.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about consumers right now. What did you learn about their expectations towards sustainability with this research?
Yeah, so like businesses, consumers are also concerned about sustainability. And our survey shows that 75% are concerned about climate change. And even more, 78%, they try to have a positive impact with their daily actions. However, consumption patterns are complex. So consumers, they have a set of priorities, and sometimes they compete with sustainability attributes. So historically, price and quality have been very important. And it was not a surprise that, keeping in mind our current economic situation, the survey, which we did in the end of 2022, revealed that 91% of consumers, they prioritize price, and 93% quality. So this means that businesses, they must ensure sustainable options that meet both these needs as well as their budgets. And also, the other important thing to highlight here is that although this vast majority of consumers, they try to have a positive impact with their daily actions, almost a third of them actually do not believe that they will have, that they can affect and can positively influence that. And 24% are unsure. So we do see that customers, they actually try to do with their actions what they can, but they still remain a little bit skeptical because their level of influence is very limited to the products and to the services they consume. So this sustainability should be embraced and included in our daily actions. So customers, they actually can feel with their every day, within their routine, that they have some tangible results. And the third thing I wanted to mention here is that our data reveals also that, for example, people are more willing to pay for sustainable attributes related to the items being transported, not the transportation itself. But those who are willing to pay for transportation, they have a set of values. And we see these values. They are recycled items, using less water, reducing energy consumption, second-hand products, repairing broken items. So the next step would be for businesses to identify these sets of values of consumers they are targeting, and in this way to link it to their corporate sustainability actions, so social, environmental, as well as governance.
Very interesting. And do you feel that this set of values, this trend, also reflects on the e-shoppers' behaviors? Is sustainability now also a part of their criteria when they are buying online?
Absolutely, and we conduct every year a survey among the European e-shoppers. We interview every year about 20,000 e-shoppers all over Europe, and we observed exactly the same thing. They are completely conscious when buying online. They take care as much as possible on how sustainable can their order could be. But at the same time, what is very interesting is that more than 70% of them, they just expect the brands and the companies to take their own responsibilities and to make the effort to provide them with sustainable services. So it's clearly a message that is being sent to the companies. Take your responsibilities, and I would even say, and I like to say that for us, especially as a delivery company, it's our license to operate in the future. If we are not sustainable, if we don't provide sustainable services, we will be, let's say, kicked off the market, actually. So really important to be conscious of this expectation.
Thank you, Jean Claude. Following this investigation amongst businesses and customers, were you able to put together some recommendations on managing sustainability in this uncertain and crisis environment?
Yes, so we have built 5-step roadmap to move towards the sustainability. And our first step is to stay the course, so basically the topic of our conversation today. And as Karolina mentioned, 44% of companies, they haven't changed the sustainability agenda in response to geopolitical or economical headwinds. And among those who did, 70% positively reacted by increasing either budgets for sustainability or prioritizing sustainability in their strategies. And companies, they do feel that they are on the right track. So they reduce energy, they reduce water consumption, as well as waste, and they try to recycle more. And these are the top rated actions by the companies. On the other hand, we do see that increasingly strict regulations, they also have a crucial role, because businesses, they have a feeling that they need to keep the pace. They need to follow the latest standards, because otherwise, if they fail, they will lose their customers that are concerned about sustainability and they want to see their brands sustainable, and as well as their business partners, because business partners, they also have their responsibilities, they have ESG targets they need to meet.
Great, so that's the first step of the roadmap. Jean Claude, as a partner to your customers with Geopost, how are you helping them to transition towards sustainability in this context? Can you expand on some of the solutions you've implemented?
Yes, of course, and actually we are indeed a partner of our customers, not only because of our business relationship, but it's also because we are part of their value chain. Actually, we operate the deliveries for them, and so that's why we are a key element in the value chain. We are the scope 3 if we technically consider our role in this value chain. So that's why our role in terms of decarbonization is a critical point for them, because we help them also to improve their carbon footprint as a whole. And there are many elements we can set to contribute to this roadmap. First of all, it's our plan, but it's also targeting some valuable elements for them in the service they will provide to the customers. I talked earlier about the fact that we're targeting green deliveries in the 350 biggest cities in Europe. It's a way to support the service for them to propose a sustainable service to their customers. And it's really a commitment for us, because it implies to review completely our processes in the city centers. It's not only just deciding, I will have some electric vans in the city center. It's all about reviewing the complete process, setting urban depots close to the consumers so that we can organize deliveries from these very locations directly to their consumers. So it's clearly a commitment we are doing for them. There is also other options and maybe a bit more transformative. It's in-setting programs, for instance. It's a program that we can set in partnership with some customers, some stakeholders, and that will be completely dedicated to specific targets in terms of decarbonization, and where we can share the benefit between us and our customer so that it improves the full aspect of the service we provide.
So partnership is at the heart of these solutions,
Yep.
and it's also the second step of your roadmap.
Yeah, so we do speak about partnerships a lot today. And because sustainability is a shared interest, it's not about competition. And only 3% of respondents, they actually mention that their sustainability is driven by competition. Basically, it is about shared interest. And gains made by one company will also positively affect the whole supply chain. Investors, suppliers, consumers, all of us. So this is about the second step in our roadmap, and let's move to the third one. So it's a data-focused dialogue. So it is based on the fact that 52% actually admit that they are paying more for sustainable products. And keeping in mind this information, businesses can provide additional data, so they need to provide this information to their customers to navigate the purchase. And we see that regulative environment is also playing a crucial role because it is facilitating transparency. So basically, information provided to customers as well as to shareholders. But we need to do this next step by creating dialogue with third parties to show how consumption and investment can propel the sustainability. And this is the onus of companies actually to identify and to develop these mechanisms and approaches to make sustainability, that also what I've already mentioned, kind of a daily life. So we see this information and we see that sustainability is a little bit more tangible than it is currently.
Thank you. Jean Claude, what part does data play in your solutions and in your strategy?
Actually, it's a critical point, because if you don't measure, you don't know if your service is sustainable or not. So that's why we've set a measurement system within our operations. And we've just designed a new tool, which is a carbon calculator, which will help our customers to monitor the exact carbon emissions for the parcel we operate on behalf of them. So that will be also a good way to create this good connections with the customers, knowing what we're doing, helping them monitor our progress, reporting on their own carbon footprint, but also, and that's what is really key, is giving them the ability to inform their own consumers. Because as soon as you can explain what is the carbon footprint of your service and make it clear to your consumers, they will be able to make a choice, knowing if your service is more or less sustainable. So data is really critical in this topic. And so this carbon tool has been recently designed. We have been tested it with some customers, and the feedback are really very, very positive. So we're looking forward to developing this solution for our customers very soon.
Great. Inga, back to you for the fourth step now.
Yeah, so eyes on the road, hands on the wheel. So there's a strong inclination for both businesses and consumers rely on future innovations to solve our current problems. And of course, technologies, they helped us a lot, for example, producing and storing renewable energy. That was a major step in carbon emission, and it will continue so. But now we need to understand that our current investments, they are operating as a base, creating infrastructure for future transformation and for the development and moving towards this sustainability we're talking about. So companies, when they're planning the future, they need to develop their strategies in such a way that we start to feel the impact already now on the present.
So Jean Claude, do you feel like you have eyes on the roads and hands on the wheels?
Absolutely, absolutely. Without doing this, you won't make it happen, and that's the big challenge. Actually, you need to have a permanently a kind of two focuses. You know, the first one is on a short-term perspective, because you need to implement immediate solutions to show the way, and that's possible. But at the same time, we know that all technologies are not mature yet. And so we need also to plan what could be the future. And so it means that in parallel, you must test, you must pilot new solutions and pave the way for the future evolution. So it's all about managing these two types of objective, short-term delivering and mid-long-term anticipating and preparing the evolutions.
Back to you for the final step in the roadmap.
Yeah, so last but of course not the least, so social sustainability. Of course, social sustainability starts with the well-being of the employees of the company. And it is not that flexibility and health of employees is contradicting to the business development. It is now supporting it and driving forward. So sustainability in general has a very strong social dimension. And we do see that a lot of companies, that was ranked among top 3, that companies are focusing on supporting their employees and communities. Interesting fact is that supporting communities prevail among smaller companies of up to 50 employees, and half of them, they keep it as a long-term strategy. Supporting employees is definitely important, as well as communities.
And it's also interesting, just to add quickly from the research, is that we know that small companies look up to large companies. So it's up to large companies to be the role models and set standards of what sustainability has to look like today.
Absolutely. So Jean Claude, how do you take care of your employees and involve them in this strategy?
Actually, they are completely part, of course, of the plan. But what is interesting is also that we should consider our role not only in the value chain, but also in the global ecosystem we're in. And there is an initiative I'd like to share with you is our program, Air Quality Monitoring Program we have launched a few years ago. Because we considered that as a transport company, we are part of the problem, of course, especially in the city centers because of the congestion, because of the pollution, the CO2 emissions, and so on. But we are also convinced that we are part of the solution. And that's why we decided to equip our electric vans in the city centers with air pollution sensors. And so we capture, every time we deliver parcels, we capture permanently in real time the pollution data. And this data is really valuable for local authorities to know what is the real status of the pollution and then set the right plan to remove and to mitigate this impact. So that's an example we have set, and now it's live in 28 cities in Europe, and it's a way to contribute beyond your own value chain to a more sustainable environment.
Great. If you have questions regarding this roadmap and these 5 steps, feel free to share them using the chat, and we'll take a few questions by the end of this program. So now, after sharing all this strategy and this 5-step roadmap, how do you think companies can get to the next level in terms of sustainable investments?
Yeah, so good news is that the outlook for sustainability in Europe is not dire. So companies are committed to sustainability, and customers, they are also focusing, and they want to see the situation improving. But there is still some work to be done. So basically what we need to reframe sustainability so it is motivating. And it is also highlighting also obstacles for both consumers and businesses. So we should see it not as a responsibility, but more as a shared responsibility between everyone, actually. So investors, suppliers, consumers. And this is not just an aspirational concept. This is also operational. We are not investing in some cleaner future, which is intangible, but we are investing in these structures as well as in products that will lead us there. And so based on that, we do believe that this shared investment is based on key 3 themes. So the first one is about considering impact on the full value chain. And this is about also, again, improving digitalization, which allowed us not only to report, but also to measure our carbon emission and resources we use. So that was a major step because that allowed and facilitated the corporate environmental accountability among companies. But now we need to move on to this next step where we focus on better understanding how sustainability interacts with economic and social aspects. And through leadership and through careful partner selection, businesses can make this, they can influence, they can affect in a broader context, across the whole supply chain, the situation. And moving on to the second theme is about collaboration. Again, we are speaking a lot about partnerships and about collaboration. So here I would like to highlight that collaboration with partners within and across industries are very important to setting those standards. Again, we've already highlighted that. This is against greenwashing, and this is a very important topic. So we need these standards to see how sustainability actually interconnects with products and services we offer to our consumers. On the other hand, these standardized metrics will help consumers to receive that data. So they will see the transparency, they will get these tangible numbers they can also use when doing their sustainable consumption choices. So this is also very important, and we do see that some industries are already a little bit ahead. For example, food industry, they are developing their environmental standards, their labels. So now other industries, they also need to join that, and we need to expand that. And leading companies like Geopost, they need to support that, and only thanks to them it will be achieved. And for the third step, so this is again about consumers. For them, we need to develop interactive and robust mechanisms so they can see how their consumption is an investment into that cleaner future. So we already see that this is again done by some companies, especially when we purchase aircraft tickets or delivery, for example. So on top of that, companies can make this information even more interactive, maybe providing the historical data for each of the user, how much they saved when ordering each of their item, and maybe providing additional insights into social rights or something else. So all these efforts, we believe, they will motivate, they will inform the consumer how they affect sustainability with their daily actions.
Thank you very much, Inga, for clarifying this notion of shared investment that is pivotal in this research. Jean Claude, according to you, what are the key success factors to transition from corporate responsibility to shared investment?
I would say, first of all, is to focus on your own organization first, to set the right plan, as I said, measuring your carbon footprint and then setting the plan. But then you need to consider that you're a part of a value chain. And that's why the partnership is really key. I mentioned a few of them. For instance, in setting programs where you set a partnership with one of your customers to focus on a specific reduction action is a key element. Sharing the data, via a carbon calculator, for instance, is also contributing to what you've said. But I would say also there is also a responsibility as a company. For instance, creating kind of coalition of companies that have the same challenges. And as one example, Geopost is one of the founding members of an initiative that has been launched by the Climate Group recently, which is EV 100+. And actually, it's all about some big players in the market that commit themselves to remove from the roads by 2040 all the heavy trucks that generate CO2 emissions and to replace them with low carbon emission vehicles. So it's a clear commitment of big players, and it's a strong signal that has been sent to the manufacturers, to the governments. So we have a role also to play to show the way and explain that we are committed, but as alone we cannot make it all the way along. So it requires some support and some coalitions to make it happen.
Well, about coalition and about this value chain that you just mentioned, you interact with a lot of players, your partners, your suppliers, your customers. What part do you see Geopost playing in that value chain now and even more tomorrow?
Actually, I think we are a kind of a facilitator and hopefully a leader, but a facilitator because we deliver parcels on behalf of our customers. So especially in e-commerce, actually we transform an online order into a physical service that is being delivered to the consumer. So that's why this role of a facilitator is really key, and it's pretty committing because it requires to be on both ends, supporting the strategy of your customer, but delivering the best service to the consumer. So that's the key challenge of our position in the market.
We're talking about this white paper that you put together. What are the next steps for Geopost in sharing the insights from the white paper and rolling out its strategy?
I think that's the ambition of this white paper. It's opening a conversation with our stakeholders, with our customers, to investigate, to look for potential evolutions that could be set together. Because again, and I think that's one of the key messages of this white paper, is that alone you cannot make it perfectly well. You need to consider that you are part of an ecosystem and trying to partner and to help the others to move forward at the same pace is certainly one of the key message of this white paper.
Great. Final question on my part. What would you like our viewers to remember from this live conference, or from this conversation? Karolina first.
So it goes back to the topic of the white paper, sustainability in times of economic uncertainty. So we know that the world has been grappling with twin challenges of economic uncertainty and then environmental deterioration on the other hand. But what we must recognize is that those two concepts are not mutually exclusive, but actually for us to have an economically stable environment in the long term, we must act towards sustainability. And as Jean Claude mentioned, this cannot be done by one country, one company, or one individual. And we must, of course, first look inside our companies and see what can be done there to develop a sustainable framework, but also collaborate within and across industries towards that shared value.
Thank you. Inga?
Oh, I completely agree with every word that Karolina mentioned just now, but it is about shared investment, which we covered today already, and about us, every one of us, because in the morning or during the day, we are employees, we are employers. In the end of the day, we are part of the community, we're just a part of our society. So at each step during the day, we just need to try to do our best towards that sustainability, and based on in which part of the day we are right now, to look at how to incorporate that with the environment we are in.
Thank you. Jean Claude, final word to wrap up?
Yes, I completely subscribe to what you've said. Maybe additionally, I would say that transparency is certainly one of the key elements in this topic, because it's necessary to share the same data and to be on the same page. But it requires also, in my opinion, some humility, because as we said, we cannot foresee the future. We know that there are plenty of challenges ahead. So it's also considering that we walk the walk, and that's certainly the best way to make it happen at the very end.
Well, thank you very much for answering my questions. And now let's turn to the questions you've sent in and take a few moments to answer the one we've received. So let's start with the first one. So feel free to jump in, all of you, at any time. What is the key to ensure an optimal coordination between the stakeholders of the value chain? So you mentioned it's a lot of players and you have to have different strategies coming together for the same target. So how do you have everyone playing together in harmony to achieve these goals?
I think first of all is, and I will repeat myself, but I think it's first of all sharing the same data. If you don't share the same language, I think it's super difficult to get together to set a common objective and a common plan. So for me, that's a critical point, and it opens the question of the standards that exist on the market. So sharing the same data is a key element, and the second one is transparency. For me, it's clear.
Karolina, Inga, have you come across examples of efficient coordinations through these value chains towards sustainability?
Yeah, for sure. Just to add to what Jean Claude has just mentioned, from our research, we understand that the companies are themselves calling for more robust standards within and across the industries. So we know that there are a lot of governmental standards, ESGs, SDGs, that we are trying to work towards. But what we've seen throughout the interviews is that the companies are calling for something on top of that or in addition to that. So I would say it's up to kind of businesses and industries to set the standards and decide how these are going to look like, and kind of work together collectively to work according to those.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next question. What are the services of the future, according to you, that will address consumers' and businesses' expectations in the light of their sustainability priorities?
So I think it's a question for me.
I think it's for you, Jean Claude.
Maybe two elements. The first one is a very pragmatical one, is what we call a green delivery, even though I don't like the word green. It's a low emission delivery. And that's what expect first the consumers. When we ask them, what is the best sustainable service you can be provided when ordering online, it's I want to be delivered with a low emission vehicle. So that's the obvious new service we must absolutely develop, and we are in the way of developing this service in our process. And the second element, in my opinion, is all about the second-hand markets, the recycled items. You mentioned it, and that's obviously something that is booming in the market right now. So we need also to consider again the full value chain and the shift from a traditional way of purchasing online and new kind of collaborative way of consuming, and that's certainly the big challenge and the big evolution ahead.
Great, thank you very much, Jean Claude, for your answer. Next question now: does innovation play a part in accelerating sustainability roadmap implementation? Is it something that you've witnessed through the research, and what part does innovation play into moving forward towards the most sustainable investment and process?
Definitely. So it goes back to the question that we had in the research, whether sustainability is a cost or as an investment. And we spoke to many different companies and we got kind of different views of what that might look like, with some saying maybe if we want to invest in sustainability, we have to forego other innovations that we're planning. But overwhelmingly, most of the businesses recognize that innovations that they need to be focusing on are, in a lot of the cases, related to sustainability. And that goes back to that kind of concept of embedding sustainability within the business operations. So not only kind of doing that for the greater good, but also doing that as an investment towards the future of the company itself.
Yeah, if I can add here, because that's also what we see speaking about innovation. From the perspective of very big companies, it is very oftenly seen as an investment and as a cost, because that's a lot to change their internal processes. But what we see that currently a lot of small companies, they base their business on innovation. So they create something and then they join the whole society, and they either being acquired or simply growing out from what they have created. So we do see different sustainability actions like upcycling, for example, or in general everything what is around a circular economy. So a lot of companies, they are focusing, they are trying to innovate to find how to use the wastewater, how to use some waste heat from refrigerators or somewhere they have in their production, to not to waste that, but to move to some other processes. And basically, I think, like, again, about partnerships. So we're speaking about these big companies, looking at smaller companies in many cases to see what they are implementing, because they are very open-minded and they are very creative and they can really show interesting solutions.
Thank you very much for your answers. We're moving on to the next question. Should the level of collaboration extend to your competitors? You mentioned coalitions. Yeah. Jean Claude, does it mean that companies should be ready to team up with their competition to achieve larger goals? And is it something that you've come across during the research?
Of course. Of course, as I said, we are players in the market and we have a role, and we can be competitors, but we face the same challenges. And when it makes sense to team up with some competitors, to send signals to the governments, to the manufacturers, for instance, it's a good example. It's indeed necessary, yeah, of course.
Definitely, and that kind of goes in line with the research that we did as well. So it's great to hear that not only Geopost thinks that, but a lot of businesses as well. So what we've heard during the interviews is that the businesses are ready to, on that case, of course, embed sustainability in their operations, but not look at their competitors, competitors as competitors in this topic, but more so to collaborate towards the shared value, because they understand if they can team up and send signals to kind of the governing bodies, or if they can address some problems in the value chain, the benefits they can reap the benefits together and not only by the one company.
Well, thank you very much for your answer. I'm afraid that's all the time we had, and we need to wrap up this live conference now. Sustainability in Times of Uncertainty is the title of the white paper put together by Geopost and Euromonitor International. Stay tuned for more about this research and its key findings. Make sure to spread the word on this topic and check out the replay of this program that will be available by the end of the week on Geopost's YouTube channel. Jean Claude, Karolina, Inga, thank you very much for being my guest today and answering my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for tuning in and sharing your questions. We hope to see you soon. Stay safe. See you soon.